Now that I've got everything cleaned, it's time to reassemble the movement. And that's going to start with this guy right here. So what we do is go to this side. Here's this staked gear here, this hole. Slip it through this until it seats. Then we take this guy right here, and what we're going to do is put it through there, and it's going to go through the post of this gear. Okay, it's hard for me to show you, but if you're working on one, you'll see it there. And then that's going to be held in place by this odd looking screw with a spring on it. So I'm holding the gear underneath with my left hand, holding it in place. I've got this lined up so I can put the screw in. And I'll just give you a word of warning: if you clean this plate with Brasso, like I told you that I've done, sometimes the Brasso will dry in the threads of these holes and make it really difficult to screw things back in. So I usually take a toothpick afterwards and just make sure the threads are clear. So that's that. That's how that's going to operate. Now, the next part is going to get awkward, okay, because of the way that they made this thing. But the next thing I want to do is I want to take my rotor. Now I'm using an extra rotor because I happen to have one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the rotor in there, and I'm holding it on the bottom with my hand so it stays in place. Then I'm going to take the minute hand sleeve, and in order to get it on there, I'm going to have to just let the rotor drop a little bit. And then it'll seat in there. And you see these two gears meshed right here. The next thing I need to do is take the spacer for the time set shaft, and I've got to put that on the time set shaft. And the time set shaft is going to go through this hole right here. So I put that on there, and the idea is that these gears will mesh right here. All right. Now the next thing I need to do is put on the hour hand sleeve. And again, this gets tricky because I've got to withdraw the rotor in order to slide the minute hand and hour hand assembly to the side, because the hour hand sleeve has to go underneath this gear. So we got that meshed. We got that meshed. And what I'm doing with the rotor is I'm just keeping it centered in place. That's what I'm doing with the rotor. It's it's not even probably necessary to do that, but I find it helpful. So that's what I'm doing. Next, I'm going to take my power indicator assembly and I'll put it through this hole. Then I'm going to take the alarm set shaft, put it through this hole. Okay. And then finally put this on like that. And so I've got the gears basically lined up. If I didn't have the rotor sticking in the back, these gears would be sliding all over the place and it'd just be a big mess. When I put this on and screw it down, everything should be held in place and work properly. So this one, you see that little nub right there, we want that to be facing down. That goes in the middle right there. And now I'm holding with my back fingers the rotor in there, holding with my front finger here, my thumb, that right there. And now I can put these screws in to hold the whole mess together. And once I get these three in, then this should be good to go. Okay, ready for us to actually put the rotor and coil in the back and screw it down. And at that point, we'll be ready to test. So now I will say, I did clean everything, ran it through my ultrasonic cleaner. This clock did not actually need to be cleaned at all. Somebody had cleaned it. before I got it, and it wasn't necessary. But, you know, I did it anyway, so couldn't hurt. And but I have worked on these, a couple of these that have just been so horribly dirty. And this is not a good example of that. If you're having trouble like removing things because oil has frozen up, that's not unusual. This one I was able to take off everything by hand because somebody had done it before I got here. So this is the movement now, okay? And the next step is going to be to take our rotor and put it down in the hole there. This coil is real tight on this rotor, so I'm going to do them both at the same time. One thing we've got to make sure is where it's stamped here, it says top. We want to make sure that that's lined up on the top there. That's important. So I'm going to fit the rotor I'm actually using on the back of the clock here, and then take these screws and fasten this down. And of course, by doing this, I'm clamping the rotor to the back plate, because the way they designed it, the rotor is just simply sandwiched between the coil and the back plate. All right, so I've got everything sort of hand tight here. I'm going to go around, make sure everything's tightened up. And then what I'm going to do, what I like to do, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on the knobs and turn and make sure that all the gears are meshed the way they're supposed to be.